all have heroes. As I twist Batman's head backwards. I'm going to set him down right over here. We all have people that we look up to in our lives. Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's grandparents or friends. Maybe it's a sibling. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to fathom. Your brother or sister might be your hero right now. It might change, who knows? But I think because we're in such a broken state as human beings that we live in a world that's broken off from God and from God's perfection, that we need to see examples of people who love unconditionally, people who are willing to sacrifice, and to bring the best to the world. There's a passage in the New Testament that says very simply, "Greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for his friends." And a lot of times in popular media, the greatest measure of a hero would be giving up his or her life for hundreds of thousands of millions of people. And you can see it in just about any movie where there's a very clear-cut hero who's trying to save someone or a group of people. That sometimes it's inevitable for that movie. That's just how it's going to end. Sometimes you read it in a book. Now, granted, I know that there's probably about 3% of you that read faithfully, but comic book count. I might bring it up to 5%. But I think we really all need to see heroes, because it helps us to understand that there are people who care. Now, I have a lot of heroes in my life. I could very literally sit up here for hours and share about heroes who have helped me along the way. I've got years of experience of looking up to people. But I wanted to use tonight to share why I chose Batman. Yes, I do have props. I'm not putting the mask back on, it is full of sweat. So I looked like I was crying. You don't want to wear my sweat-filled Batman mask, trust me.
How do you? It looks like you were crying.
Because if you do, we need to have a different discussion. But I am a huge Batman fan. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge fan. I've seen every movie, even the really bad 1940s movie serials, where Batman was running around in a mask made of felt.
Yeah, those were terrible. Sorry, no offense, I had a comment.
If you look through my movie collection, I have the entire animated series that ran in the 90s. I have both of the recent movies. I have soundtracks from many of the movies. I'm a really big fan of Batman. And Bob Kane created a really, really phenomenal character over 70 years ago. It's been around that long. But one of the things that really drives my fandom of Batman is that he's an ordinary human being who, through a tragedy in his life, has pushed himself to every physical limit that a human being could to improve himself, body and mind, in the hopes that that tragedy won't have to happen to anyone else. He has given up his entire life for the people around him. He does not have friends, not real friends. He doesn't have a tight-knit family. All the women that he's dated over the years wind up leaving him or dead, depending on how lazy the writer was.
Or marrying someone else.
Or marrying someone else. It should fall under the leaving him category, by the way.
Or the Joker takes them away.
But he has become such an outsider and such a loner because he wanted to keep that from happening to anyone else. He wanted to protect everyone else around him. And if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, spoiler warning, too bad. get over. It's been out for several years. Well, not several years. It's been out for a couple of years now. In the end of the movie, they had Batman do something that Jesus himself actually did, which I thought was really cool. And the very technical term is called substitutionary atonement. Everyone's like, what? You going to explain that? No, I'm going home. Yes. When it was discovered, when Harvey Dent dies, and all this stuff that he's done as Two-Face that would tarnish all the good work that he had done. If people found out that Harvey was Two-Face and Two-Face had done all that, it would destroy the morale of the city. And they were just gaining ground. And Batman essentially looks at Commissioner Gordon and says, tell them I did it. Now, granted, this is a little bit outside, this is a little bit different from what Jesus did, because Jesus didn't cover up someone else's sins. He took them on himself. So it's a limited analogy. But by volunteering to take on what are essentially Harvey's sins, every wrong thing he had done, onto himself and take the punishment and the blame for it, he in essence purified Harvey to death. So that when people speak of Harvey, they could really genuinely focus on the good. In essence, he had saved him. He'd saved his legacy. Which puts Batman at odds with the entire city of Gotham. Police are after him. He's not welcome and loved anymore. He's become a vile offender. By taking on Harvey's sins, he took on all the negative, which released Harvey. Jesus did the same thing for us. He took on all our sins so that we didn't have to deal with them. So we didn't have to be guilty for them, responsible for those sins. So that we could be forgiven and we could be made clean. And that's one of the things that I really, really like about what they've done with Batman. Because he is a driven character who models complete sacrificial love for the rest of humanity. And it's people he doesn't even know. It's not just he gave up his life to protect 7 or 8 good friends. He gave up his life to serve and protect everyone. Now, you can make the case for a lot of superheroes for that. I won't stop you. But that's one of the ones that's really hit home with me. He studied, he trained, he did everything he could to improve himself to carry out his mission. God calls us to do the same thing, to study, to train, to improve ourselves, to carry out the mission he has for us. To care for the people around us, to serve essentially as heroes to the people around us. We all have heroes in our lives that we look up to. What are you doing in your life to be a hero to the people around you? Especially to the people you don't know.